Hello, my friends. In this last episode, we'll talk about the popular music of the 50s and we'll meet some of the most influential blues musicians of that decade. By the 1950s, rural blues had evolved to the urban music we associate with electric Chicago blues, and Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and Willie Dixon were in the center of it. Overdriven electric guitars, double bass, harmonica, piano, and drums were primarily used, shaping the Chicago blues sound. This new style reached Europe in 1958, when Muddy Waters toured with Otis Spann in England, after the recommendation by Big Bill Broonzy. Broonzy had already toured the UK and the rest of Europe, making the blues known. At that time, Broonzy played acoustic folk music in a style that skiffle fans in England could relate to. But Muddy Waters, unaware of this audience's expectations, played his electric rock and blues, shocking the crowd. British considered as authentic blues only the acoustic ones, and blues musicians who made the trip from the United States to England in the 50s were compared to Big Bill Broonzy for their authenticity. He had created a sense of the blues based on a country style, closely related to the lifestyle in the rural South. Nevertheless, Muddy Waters' concerts in the UK were inspirational to many young musicians, something that eventually led to the birth of British blues in the 60s. Meanwhile, in the United States, a revolution was brewing. In 1954, producer Sam Phillips of Sun Records in Memphis was looking for a white guy who could sing like a black, in order to easily cross over to pop charts. In the summer of that year, Elvis Presley was doing a session in the studio, and while he was jamming with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black on That's Alright, an Arthur Crudup song, Phillips heard what he was dreaming of. He recorded that song, and soon after, Elvis became a star.
That's all right. That's all right, mama, anyway do.
Of course, Presley didn't invent rock and roll that day, but his massive success made this mixture of rhythm blues and country become mainstream. His image, in addition to his music, was idolized by young men, leading to the invention of the American teenager as a marketing target for the music industry. Other early rock and roll songs were Crazy Man Crazy, Shake, Rattle and Roll, and Rock Around the Club by Bill Haley and his Comets. Shake, Rattle and Roll is an example of the phenomenon of covering in that period, where white groups changed some overtly sexual lyrics of black rhythm and blues songs and made them hits in the pop charts.
I did shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. You won't do right, I don't know. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Shake, rattle and roll. Well, shake, rattle and roll. And now shake, rattle and roll. Well, shake, rattle and roll. Well, you won't do nothing to save your doggone soul.
In 1955, another rock and roll pioneer released his first hit. Chuck Berry recorded Maybelline after Muddy Waters brought him to the attention of Chess Records in Chicago. Berry wrote lyrics that needed no fix, so he could easily cross over to mainstream pop. 1 year later, many rockabilly hits, like Gene Vincent's Biba Bolula, Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, and Jerry Lee Lewis' Great Balls of Fire crossed over too. Around that time, producers Chet Atkins and Owen Bradley, among others, became the architects of the Nashville sound. They replaced the honky-tonk style with smooth elements from the 50s pop, such as string sections and background vocals, in order to make Nashville country more poppy and sleek. It was an attempt to revive country sales as an answer to the rise of rock and roll. Meanwhile, new record companies were founded, like Stax Records in 1957 and Motown Records in 1959, that played an important role in the creation of new genres later in the 60s and 70s. By the end of the decade, rhythm and blues artists like Fats Domino and Louis Jordan had influenced another tradition. In Jamaica, people were listening to radio stations of neighboring New Orleans, so they incorporated some rhythm blues elements to their music. Ska was born as a combination of Caribbean mento and calypso with American jazz and rhythm and blues music. Now, let's meet some of the most important musicians in the blues and rhythm and blues scene in the 50s. Elmore James. The king of the slide guitar, Elmore James, began making music at the age of 12 using a diddley bow. 21 years later, in 1951, he recorded Dust My Broom in Jackson, Mississippi, which became a hit, and his recording career began. His style was influenced by Robert Johnson, Kokomo Arnold, and Tampa Red, among others. Junior Wells. Harmonica player Junior Wells made his first recordings in 1952 when he replaced Little Walter in Muddy Waters Band. He was mainly influenced by Little Walter and Rice Miller. Wells is thought of as one of the pioneers of the amplified blues harp style associated with Chicago. Hubert Sumlin. In 1954, guitarist Hubert Sumlin, who was influenced by Delta bluesmen Robert Johnson and Charlie Patton, moved to Chicago to join Howlin' Wolf's band, remaining his guitarist for the rest of Wolf's career. His playing influenced Eric Clapton, Duane Allman, Jeff Beck, Peter Green, Jimi Hendrix, and many more. Freddie King. Around that time, Freddie King had also moved to Chicago, where he formed his own band. His success came later in 1961 with the recording of Hideaway. King was influenced by Robert Lockwood Jr., Jimmy Rogers, Lightning Hopkins, Louis Jordan, and Eddie Taylor. His style became very influential, especially to rock blues guitarists. Albert King. The third of the three kings of blues, Albert King, was influenced by Blind Lemon Jefferson, Lightning Hopkins, Lonnie Johnson, Elmore James, Howlin' Wolf, and T-Bone Walker. He started his recording career in 1954 with Bad Luck Blues, but it wasn't until his 1961 release Don't Throw Your Love on Me So Strong that King had a major hit. His best-known song and album, though, was Born Under a Bad Sign, released in 1967 by Stax Records. His playing influenced Jimi Hendrix, Albert Collins, Otis Rush, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and many more. Ray Charles. Ray Charles Robinson was a pioneer of soul music, combining blues, rhythm and blues, jazz, and gospel. His influences include Nat King Cole, Louis Jordan, and Charles Brown. His first recordings were made in 1951, but his most noticeable hits came in 1954 with I Got a Woman and in 1959 with What I Say. Magic Sam. Guitarist Magic Sam moved to Chicago in 1956, and soon after he recorded his first single, All Your Love, in 1958. He and Otis Rush introduced the slow gospel-tinted blues and the electric bass, which gradually replaced the double bass in Chicago bands. Sam had learned to play the blues from listening to records by Muddy Waters and Little Walter. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke, also known as the King of Soul, left in 1957 the Soul Stirrers and crossed over from gospel to rhythm and blues with his major hit, You Send Me. His pioneering contributions to soul music helped the rise of Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield, Stevie Wonder, and many more. Buddy Guy. In 1959, George Buddy Guy moved to Chicago. Like many other blues guitarists, he started learning the guitar by playing a diddley bow. He was influenced by Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, B.B. King, Guitar Slim, T-Bone Walker, and Earl Hooker. His unique guitar style influenced many others, such as Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Jeff Beck. So, these are a few important figures that left their mark in the evolution of American music, and of course, there are countless more. I leave it up to you to discover them. Have fun!